3 times the CIA awarded a contract for medical services to the same company. 3 times the losing bidder protested. Finally, a court said the protester might be right, but it let the CIA go ahead with the original award anyway. The lessons learned now from Haynes Boone procurement attorney Zach Prince. And I guess this protester was nothing if not persistent and ultimately right in some sense, and they still lost. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's right. So this protest has gone on for a while in many different iterations. So it started back in 2021 when the agency put out the RFP the first time. 2022, they got 3 offers. They made an award to PGI, continues to be the awardee, and there was quickly a protest. And then they took corrective action, and there was quickly a protest. And that cycle continued until pretty recently.
And PGI was actually a company, Patriot Group International, and the company protesting was Assessment and Training Solutions Consulting Corp.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's the shorthand that the court uses, so I'm falling into the pattern.
Sure. And what was the CIA exactly buying here?
You know, it's a little bit vague, and I don't have the statement of work, and it might well be classified, but they described it as international tactical and non-tactical medical support services.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like field doctors or something who, well, it could be anything. That's what they could have said, but you don't know what they're actually doing. All right, well, so 3 protests. What were the grounds and why did it keep lingering like that?
The last protest at GAO, at least GAO summarized the crux of the argument was about ATSC arguing PGI violated solicitation formatting requirements. So the argument was that PGI used a trick to shove more text into its proposal than was allowed. You know, these RFPs often contain very strict requirements or limitations for pages. You can only have X number of pages in this volume, X number of pages in that volume. And because they're familiar with the tricks you can do to get more text in, the agency here at least said it has to be 12 fonts. And I think they indicated what the margins had to be and the line spacing. I mean, you can shove a lot of text in if you have no margins, essentially, and lines that are under 1.
Right.
So they said you can't do any of that.
Microsoft Word goes down to, I think, 8-point type, which is pretty darn small. So, yes, small margins, teeny type, and close line spacing, you can get unlimited even in 6-7 pages.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. So ATSC argued that, well, that's what PGI did here, that there was an exception in the RFP for smaller font sizes for charts, graphs, tables, and figures. And according to ATSC, at least, that was abused by PGI, that they shoved a lot of explanatory text that really was part of their technical volume and their past performance volume into these supposed tables when they really weren't supposed to be used for that purpose.
Boy, that is a highly technical grounds for protest. It wasn't on the technical proposal. It wasn't on the pricing. It wasn't on the services offered, but the format of the bid.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of that other stuff, too. I mean, you know, you file a protest at GAO typically. I don't want to say most people take the kitchen sink approach, but you see a lot of those. And GAO addressed those issues, too, but it was much more as an afterthought because that wasn't the core of the argument. Usually when you get to the point where you're arguing that the agency's technical evaluation was wrong, it's often subjective and you're likely to lose. So you want an objective ground that you can win on if you're going to have a real hope in a protest.
All right. We're speaking with Zach Prince. He's a procurement attorney and a partner at Haynes Boone. But when it finally got to the final round at the court, that's where the findings kind of got interesting.
Yeah, so the court started off by saying, actually, GAO is wrong. The RFP did not just give you carte blanche to put anything you want into a table and call it, if you call it a table, you put a box around it, and now you can do anything with that. Which GAO had essentially said is that the text of the RFP really did allow you to put whatever you want in those tables within certain pretty broad limitations. The court said, no, that's not true. But it doesn't matter because ATSC is complaining of something that it did. It did the same exact thing, just to a lesser extent, where it too shoved explanatory text into supposed tables.
Right, so it used the proverbial 9-point type instead of the 8-point type and accused the other one. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black here.
That's right. And the court used a whole bunch of analogies of that sort, including the pot. As the court said, the pot may choose to call the kettle black, but it's a surefire way to lose a case.
Right. So what are the lessons learned here then for bidders?
First is if you're going to take a position as to the meaning of a solicitation, you have to be consistent. You can't have your cake and eat it too, to maybe mix metaphors. But if you're going to take the position that it only allows you to do certain things, then stick with that in your proposal. Because otherwise, if you complain later that another party did something else, you don't have a basis to argue anything. The other point here, though, that I thought was interesting, the court says, yeah, we're agreeing with PGI and the government, and ATSC's case is done. But even if we didn't, we still wouldn't grant a injunction. We wouldn't stop this procurement because this is national security at stake.
So national security almost overrides many common protest grounds.
It does, or at least it can. You get it at the court, they have to grant an injunction to stop performance, right? It's not, you don't get a mandatory stay of the procurement like you do at GAO. The court has to do this balancing test to decide if you get a stay. Usually the government just stays it anyway. It's easier that way. You don't waste time and money litigating whether an injunction is appropriate. But here they didn't. The government didn't agree to stay it, apparently. The court said, with this balancing, set aside the fact that you are losing on the merits. Even if you had a real argument here, the public interest is clearly served based on a classified declaration that the CIA submitted to the court, at least, in favor of letting this continue. This is something the agency needs. National security is at stake. This has got to continue.
Well, one wonders what the court might have said if the grounds of the protest were not overridable in the court's opinion. All right, formatting and what font you used is a technical violation of the solicitation, but it's not anything content-wise. Suppose there had been an organizational conflict of interest in the winning bidder or something substantial like that where there's real ethics involved. Again, rhetorically, just wondering what the court might have decided in that case.
Yeah, I suspect that the balance of interest would have been different. But yeah, it's hard to say because this procurement has gone on for 3 years, and apparently it was really quite significant for the government. They needed whatever it was that's being vaguely described in this procurement quite badly. And so it might be the case that even if the agency had some real issues here, the court still would have said, no, we're not going to enjoin action. But it's hard to say because the public interest in trust in the procurement system or saving the taxpayer dollars and ensuring you're getting the best goods and services, I don't know. That weighs more strongly, I think, in favor of an injunction. But
right.
That wasn't the case here.
And there is the question, too, that if the CIA said 12-point type, 1.5-inch spacing, and 1-inch margins, 10 pages maximum, whatever they said, I'm making that up, then, why did all the parties not do that? And the CIA didn't say, folks, we said 12-point type, 1.5 line spacing, and 1-inch margins, 10 pages. Go back and give us again that.
Yeah, I think they had already gone back and redone enough things. They were not going to redo this, especially where both parties made the error that was being complained about.
Plus, if they have people lying in kinetic situations that need medical care, again, there's the overriding interest. Interesting case. Procurement attorney Zach Prince is a partner at Haynes Boone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
And we'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts. And this program note, be sure to register for Day 2 of Federal News Network's online Cyber Leaders Exchange. Hear the latest thinking from top federal cybersecurity practitioners from throughout government. Today at 1 p.m., hear the National Security Agency's Christina Walter. Register now at federalnewsnetwork.com. Sponsored by Carasoft.